and I'm a Warrnambool boy. Grew up in Warrnambool. My mother passed away when I was 4 years old, and so a couple of my early memories were going into Geelong for chemotherapy there, so I really got a sense very early on of the health issues in the regional areas. I went to Warrnambool Primary School, and it was in Mr. Ryan's class in the portables at 327 up on the hill there at Jamison Street that I first learned about the greenhouse effect. I drew a little earth with an atmosphere, and I drew a little one next to it, but this earth had some smokestacks on it. It thickened, and I learned it made sense to me as a 9, 10-year-old, and it's been interesting. After that, going through Warrnambool College, going through my career at Triple J, in which I encountered a few politicians. I was in the position of interviewing a few Prime Ministers and prospective Prime Ministers in my day, and it was extremely interesting to get along with them really well personally. You come on, you have a little bit of banter with them, that's all great, and then you hit them with a policy question. And it's interesting, the snap, the change in demeanour as soon as that happens. And it was a real focus group type answer. I interviewed Julie Gillard at one point, and it was remarkable to see that transition from a really personable, intelligent public speaker to suddenly, well, Labor's policy for this election, and it disillusioned me as a young person growing up, and it was that disillusionment which was added to when I saw the Treasurer at the time, Scott Morrison, stand up in Parliament with a lump of coal, and I thought, ooh, that photo's not going to age very well. What will I tell my hypothetical grandchildren about when they see that and go, weren't you alive then? And we're like, yeah, it was pretty bad. And they go, well, what did you do? And I would have had to have gone, I retweeted some things. I'm not that kind of person. I really don't want to preach to anybody. So what I thought I could do in 2019 was to put myself up at the election, looking for communities like my home, where I'm from, where my heart is, the electorate of Wannon, and give them an alternative to a place that has voted the same way for a very long time and by a very wide margin. And there's the eye test, there's the sniff test that I think we get taken a bit for granted in these areas. And then you look at the actual numbers and you go, well, yes, in the last cycle, Wannon received $6.9 million in grants. Terang, right next to us on a razor-thin margin, got $55 million worth of grants. To the north of us, the Mallee, $66 million worth of grants. And it's just the stark data that matches what we feel when we drive on our roads, when we try and get some internet while we're around the place, when we try to find a house or a rental property. Three things which have come up a lot in my conversations so far around the electorate. I was surprised that I hadn't heard them so far tonight. But there's some massive things that want to need alongside these existential crises such as climate change, which has been used as a political football, in my opinion, for far too long, and used as a bit of a lead weight rather than an opportunity for an area like this, which is so rich in renewable resources and where we can get some incredible economic outcomes from investing in clean energy. I've had conversations about green hydrogen, offshore wind turbines. I think it'll be a boon for the economy and help our agricultural sector, which makes up 21% of jobs in this particular area. I think it would be a really great support for that, and I hope to see a lot more benefits coming through because I think...
Could I just jump in
there?
go
for it.
Just a question that's quite relevant to this area we're in currently, where we have lots of wind towers, and a lot of people starting to feel we want some say in this because it's kind of affecting our landscape and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Do you think local people should get a say in that infrastructure that's so important for our green economy? And how do you think that should be handled by governments? At the moment, they pretty much just say it's going there.
Well, I think everything that happens in a community should be run past that community, and as the independent candidate, I'd be the person who would be beholden to that community. Other than the other people here tonight who would have to run it past the people in Canberra, you would be my bosses here, and it would be those things. And I do think, looking at the way the power grid is used and the electricity that's generated here, it's really disappointing to see that the community aren't getting probably what they're worth when it comes to the heavy lifting. I saw South Australia are saying that they got a lot of their power from renewable energy recently. They hit 100% a couple of days, which is fantastic, but a lot of that was coming from our area, and we don't really get the credit from that. And there are some great passive income opportunities for farmers who do it, should they choose to get some wind turbines on their land. It's good to see some good neighbour clauses getting written into a few of those, so they do see a bit of a financial outcome. But I think that that can absolutely be enhanced, and there absolutely should be a robust debate in communities as to whether we have reached our limit to those sort of things. And as an independent candidate, that's what it would be about. Is
Just before I ruin your whole speech.
Yeah, go for it. I don't have one written, and so you're not going to ruin anything. Yeah.
You talk about other electorates getting more than us, and we're hearing this all the time now, and we've seen evidence of the whiteboard and all the rest of it. If that's the case, if we just left it to public servants to hand out grants and projects, what's the point of having governments and ministers? Should they be able to intervene and influence the way they do?
Well, that's a very good point. I think they should be on a needs basis, not on a what's going to win us the election basis.
Yeah!
We've seen rural communities take their political future into their own hands, regional Victorians even, who have elected independent candidates, and they haven't gone back. It seems as if it is a really great thing for a community to have a person that is accessible, that's really positive, and is going to fight in Canberra on behalf of those communities. And so I'm looking for Wannon, and I trust the voters of Wannon to really seize this opportunity. And it was really interesting that a couple of the previous speakers made a really good case for electing an independent candidate. Gilbert was talking about the importance of an independent ABC, an independent ICAP as well. And it sounds to me like independent is the way to go. Hillary also mentioned that she stayed registered in Melbourne to make her vote count. And I would encourage anyone here, if you want to do the same, which I think is a very, very smart move, is to vote for an independent in this area, because I feel that it is someone who can unite the various people in the area, all of which have a valid opinion, who have a valid life, who really want to see less stress, a bright future for their children. I think an independent is the way to go for that one. I'm going to stop my speech now because I really want to hear from you in the question stage, but thank you very much, and let's vote independent this time around.